Welcome into Scout's Common Issues of Research and Diversity class. This is the 330 section, and today I'm Robert Bateman. I'm from Syracuse, New York, and we have a special guest, Danny Clawson, here to talk about substance abuse with us. First, we'll have everyone just go across and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Keegan DeBernard. I am from Southern Virginia.
I'm Danny Clawson. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition. We operate a comprehensive harm reduction program that offers resources to people who are in active drug use, and I am currently from Roanoke, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Jaden Braley, and I'm from Richmond, Virginia. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I just thought it was natural.
No, you're good.
So, how can you tell a family member is struggling with substance abuse and harm reduction?
Yeah, so, a lot of times we can't tell. I think people would be really shocked to know how many people in their network are actually using substances that we would consider hard drugs, right? I think it's, especially on a college campus, fairly common to find cannabis and other THC products. But especially in this day and age, we're seeing a lot of people who you would never think are using illicit drugs like methamphetamines and fentanyl and Xanax and other street drugs. You're finding that it's more common than ever before in our country. And so, when somebody asks, how can you tell, you really can't. Some signs you do want to look for, though, because we talk about drug use on a spectrum. So on one side, we have chaotic drug use. These are the people that you typically think of when you're talking about drug users or addicts, right? Is unhoused, using chaotically, doesn't have a job, really, really tough life, right? And is very clearly ill and in a bad spot. That's the far end, the extreme. And then you have sobriety on the other side. But before you get to sobriety, there's a lot of people who use drugs every day and use them responsibly and use them to assist them in their life, and it's actually a value add. So in that context, what you're really looking for isn't so much the presence of drugs or being worried about the presence of drugs. You're looking for, when is this drug use then becoming a negative impact in their life? Are they not coming to work or class? Are they not, taking good care of their kids? Are they, having a chaotic schedule, not sleeping or eating normally, right? Really what you're looking for is chaos, because if somebody is in a really chaotic space, that means that they're most likely not using drugs safely, and they're starting to develop substance use disorder, which is when the drug use has consumed their life so much that then they are that it's negatively impacting and damaging relationships around them, right? So if you think that somebody is suffering from chaotic drug use and you're concerned about that, you're starting to see some of these signs of their dysfunction, what you really want to do is approach them with love, right? A lot of times there was, a few years back, there was this really popular show called Intervention, where, the family and all the friends get together and they, sit kind of ambush, almost like the worst surprise party ever, get them all in a room and have the person of concern come in, and it's very, we love you, and it's all of this terrible, you're gonna die and all this stuff. And it made for great television, but really didn't support somebody's recovery. And so if you are concerned about someone's drug use, it's really important to approach them with love and making sure that you're really clear. I'm not worried about you using drugs. I am worried about the impact that the drugs are having on your life. I'm starting to see X, Y, and Z, right? Or saying, hey, like I noticed that you will use cocaine at the club. Lots of people do that. It's a very normal practice. So saying, hey, I noticed that you're using cocaine, and I just want to know, do you have Narcan? Have you been testing your drug supply? Because the biggest issue, the biggest risk right now with using drugs is contamination, right? Fentanyl is in places that it should not be. You're finding fentanyl in cocaine and methamphetamines, which are uppers. So you wouldn't want fentanyl in that, but there's a cross-contamination happening. And so if you have no tolerance to opioids, you don't mess with opioids, you don't inject drugs or do anything like that, but sure, you'll take a bump of coke in the club, who doesn't, right? That person could fall out immediately and overdose immediately because they have zero tolerance to opioids that might be contaminating that product. So you really want to focus not so much on the drugs itself, but the behaviors surrounding the drug and making sure that the primary, point of the conversation is I want you safe. It's dangerous out there and I want you to be safe. I don't want to lose you.
Awesome. And earlier you talked about how we could approach someone who is struggling with addiction, but let's look at the other end. How do you effectively communicate if you are struggling with addiction?
Yeah, so I think it's really risky for people to be open about their drug use. In addition to the actual real criminalization that people face from drug use, there are real social consequences to admitting that. And so, I think it's a difficult question to answer because a lot of people, I would like to say that you should go to a counselor, you should talk to a trusted friend, you should talk to your RA. The problem is I don't know if that RA or that friend or that counselor is going to be up to date with the best practices in drug treatment. Because unfortunately, our regulation of drug treatment practices is very poor in this country. And we don't have a lot of programs that are operating with evidence-based programming. And so I would say that if you're struggling with substance use, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to your local harm reduction center. We have one in Roanoke. They're opening one here in New River Valley very soon. And that way it's like, okay, I'm starting to get concerned about, the impact of this drug use on my life. If you go into a harm reduction center and say that, they can give you the full spectrum of services. If you're like, I need this meth to work my 3 jobs and go to class and do all the things that I'm expected to do under capitalism, right? If we're gonna do that, I need this meth. Okay, you don't have an interest in stopping your meth, but you're afraid of fentanyl poisoning. Great, let me get you some test strips, let me get you some Narcan, let me get you the resources you need to fulfill your obligations and stay safe. If they're coming in and saying, it's creating problems with my relationships and I am able to, use the meth and get through 2 or 3 days, but then I crash really hard and my Thursday and Fridays are always a mess and I miss appointments and I'm not doing great, right? I'm feeling chaotic. Then it's like, okay, let's get you connected to a treatment provider, right? Let's get you connected to a peer that can help you get into counseling or intensive outpatient program or into a residential program if that's what you need. So I would say be careful who you're disclosing to, be thoughtful about who that is, and just understand that your recovery is your own path. And if somebody tells you something that makes you feel bad about yourself and makes you feel less than, you can seek a second opinion. You can go to a different provider. If your provider is giving you this narrative that drug use is a moral failing, I would be very cautious of that person, as opposed to drug use is a symptom of trauma and adverse childhood experiences that you are suffering from, and that if you want to address drug use in your life and have it be less impactful on your life, then you need to start looking at those underlying reasons about why is this drug use becoming a problem for you.
Nice. Another question we have is, we're all college students, the big college campus. What are some ways communities like a college campus can get ahead of substance use harms without doubling down on criminalizing a person in active use or in recovery.
Yeah, I think amnesty for people seeking help, right? So often, one of my best employees, she was a registered nurse and she reached out for help. And the act of reaching out for help with her substance use disorder made her lose her license. She was told that that wouldn't happen, but it ended up happening anyway. There were legal protections for her, but she never got the benefit of those legal protections. And so that started a downward trajectory that significantly impacted her life, and she was able to climb out of that now. She's been in sobriety for 4 years. She's one of our best employees. But I would say that in order for an institution to support somebody with substance use disorder or someone who's developing substance use disorder, they need to make sure that they're giving amnesty for people that are seeking help. And then on the campus itself, openly talking about testing your drugs and Narcan. I would like to see a world, and I think Virginia Tech's pretty good about this, but I would like to see a world where in freshman orientation, everybody gets a Narcan in their welcome bag, right? And the welcome packets that you get, that everybody gets some fentanyl test strips and some xylazine test strips and benzo test strips, and they can have that ready for that first frat party that they go to, right? So, making it available to use drugs safely and focusing on that, I think will really help people stay safe.
So you have some Narcan in front of you. Just for the people who don't exactly know what it is, could you just describe what it is and how it helps?
Yeah, so this is the overdose prevention drug. It's been around since the 50s, but it's only been available in nasal for almost 10 years now. And it's super easy. It's like Flonase. If you think somebody is falling out, you can just put it right up into their nose and press that button nice and hard. And what it does is it knocks the opioid receptor off of your brain. So what happens when you're overdosing is that your breathing and central nervous system gets depressed, so you stop breathing. And so what this does is knock that opioid off that's depressing your central nervous system so that you can breathe again. It's a miracle drug. Our participants in 2002 reversed over 2,200, so 2,200 overdoses in Roanoke alone. So it's a miracle drug, and everybody should have one.
So if someone did want to find one, where could they go?
So they can get it at, I believe they can get it here at Student Health. You can also get it from the health department. The New River Valley Health Department carries it. And like I said, they're going to be very, very soon opening a comprehensive harm reduction program at the health department, which will be really easy to send your family and friends to. I know the people that are running it, and they're great folks and aren't going to be stigmatizing. They're going to be very supportive.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you spending your time to come talk to us today. Are there any other things you want to get off before we sign out?
No, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on our next episode.